questions. So before you came in, we were just having a little chat, and so I wrote down some of them. Are there any cases that have been documented that you remain doubtful of the authenticity of them?
Oh, I think that, there's thousands and thousands that can be explained and thousands of stories. And I think if you look at Hans Holzer's work, he sorted out the real from the fake. And in there, he isolates a few, where they were, it's like some of those old movies, Abbott and Costello ghost movies. In the end, it wasn't a ghost; it was somebody mechanically manipulating stuff. It's that kind of stuff. But there's so much real going on there. I think the hoaxers are fewer than the real occurrences everywhere. There's such great stories. The ghost of Flight 401. The guy who was haunting an airplane that crashed. Haunting from an airplane, from the part of an airplane that crashed, and haunting a flight crews and warning them about engine fires and stuff. And they tracked him down. His name was Don Repo, and he was a flight engineer killed in a crash. And they took a part from that crash and put it in the new L-1011 because the galley elevator failed, and they took that. And when they removed the part, the haunting stopped, and then they did an intervention with his family to try to help his soul cross over. Who goes to Flight 401? Check it out. Beautiful story. Yeah.
So it sounds like this material, an inanimate object, takes on a bit of consciousness.
They're animate. Spirits are animate. What are they being animated by? What's going on? I would love a physicist, a chemist, and someone to break it down subatomically for me. What is going on there? What are they harnessing? Is it just the oxygen and nitrogen in our ether? How are they coalescing? How does an image, a full torso image of a pilot from basically the legs up to head and the stripes on his sleeve, how does a stewardess in Easter Airlines report that? How does her colleague report it? How do dozens of report it? How does that happen? How is that appearing to those people? So much so that the Eastern Airlines psychiatrists and psychologists had to say, don't talk about this. People will not fly on Eastern Airlines anymore if they think there's a ghost on the airplanes. And so I would love to have it broken down. You see, there hasn't been enough real serious scientific inquiry on that electrochemical level. What's going on there?
You may have just answered one of the questions of a gentleman that's right there nodding. He was wondering if there'd be technology that would someday be developed that could prove the existence of discarnate personalities.
Well, NO2, freezing with NO2 is a theory that if you could, get near it and get your NO2 blaster on it and then basically freeze it, that you could probably get an image or a picture or maybe even some material from it. A woman in New Jersey, I forget her name, she's an Oriental scientist, Asian origin scientist, and she has frozen light. She's frozen light. They're freezing light. So they freeze light. Maybe they could freeze a discarnate entity, and we could get a piece of it or a picture of it, or somehow get that kind of proof. But there's so much photographic evidence today, and film and video of things and shapes, and so I think for those who don't believe, well, you maybe never believe until you see it, but it's not hard to believe today. It really isn't when you see the preponderance of all these shows. Before our movie came out, no one knew what ectoplasm was. Now millions of people know what ectoplasm is, and it's stimulated this entire interest in the paranormal and supernatural research. Every county in America has a ghost hunting society, and it makes inquiry now. So it's conventional science can no longer hide this interest from the public.
So, considering the book that was published and the work of your great-grandfather, how did you make that transition to using technology in Ghostbusters, the movie, when prior to it, it was mediumship?
Right. Well, you had institutions like Duke University and the American Society for Psychical Research conducting control of galvanic response and remote viewing stuff, and they were using technology there. And I read an article about quantum physics and parapsychology, and the guy laid out just a theory there about, well, it could be possible, using certain theories of, particulate matter and particle physics to maybe get a stream out there that was powered by, a powerful electron volt generator, something with that kind of high power, and that would be, quantum physics would be the path towards an actual, trapping mechanism. So this was kind of, he didn't lay it out quite as much as I developed it, but I read it and I thought, I can see, and then I saw the trap, and I saw the pack, and I saw how you'd marry the two, and basically developed a system from that. I had my friend John DeVicus draw it up.
So, is there any actual work being done to construct something like a
It would be very expensive. It's like would be taking Chernobyl and reducing it to the size of a backpack, so or a cyclotron, or the CERN cyclotron, so. But someday, hey, everything's miniaturized now, a UNIVAC 3000 from 1958 is now, it fits in your phone, so maybe someday. But I think science has other things to take care of. Disease, feeding our planet when climate change is going to make that very difficult. So there is other areas of science I'd like to see pursued, but hey, anybody out there wants to make inquiry into the supernatural and the paranormal, I certainly am not going to stop them.
Science does make, amazing leaps, amazing discoveries. It's only a few short centuries ago that it wasn't believed that you could create electricity, that you could generate it. Sure, there'd be thunderstorms, but it's not like creating electricity that we all take for granted now.
Yeah.
And so I guess we'll see what happens within the next few hundred years, right?
And it's going to, just the next 5 years, it's going to tetrahedrally explode. And we're going to see so many great developments that are going to help mankind. And also, we're going to see developments that are going to place science in the wrong hands of some actors out there. We're going to use it to repress freedom and to suppress, the defense capabilities of their enemies, especially what's going on in space now. The development of some of these particle beam weapons and rail guns, and to try to knock out satellites. There's people up to no good out there.
Now, regarding personal experiences, because anybody here who has had a personal paranormal experience, and raise your hand if you have. So it looks like maybe 70% of the room, rough estimate. Once you have that personal experience, then you're a believer, and it's like you don't need any more proof when you've already experienced it. Mm-hmm. You have had experiences.
Well, yeah, I think I felt the presence of a spirit once when I was alone at the house we lived in, Mama Cass's old house up in Woodrow Wilson Drive in LA there, and I think something definitely got into bed with me one night. What am I going to do about it? Have your way with me. Well, I wiggled up next to it and went to sleep. And I remember one night Donna and I were in that bed there, and her jewelry started to do a little dance on the bed. And I looked over. It was as if it was a little tornado. We're picking her bracelets up and whirling them around, and we were nowhere near them. And now the current owner of the house says that occurs on the mantelpiece in that bedroom. She'll leave something there, and she'll see it kind of pop around, And she's had experiences as well with feelings and, service personnel coming and going and getting touched, on the shoulder, that like our Mexican angels did. We had two beautiful women that still work with us, and they felt the presences at Woodrow Wilson, Yeah.
And certainly, that's what led me into the paranormal, having personal experiences at my parents' house.
Tell us, please.
And while I was alone, I could hear somebody on the second floor walking back and forth. Being that I don't even think I was 12 or 13 years old, I ran to the kitchen. I grabbed, of all things, a meat tenderizer. What am I going to do with that? And I went and searched every room of the house. I don't know what my intention was with the meat tenderizer, but it just felt like something I could swing in case it was an intruder. I couldn't find anybody. Went back downstairs, and footsteps happened again, walking across the upstairs of the house. I don't know what it was, who it was. but it was something there.
Well, did you ever make inquiry to try to find out who it might have been, or?
Yeah.
Because that's what hands, yeah, really, and
Yeah,
found out.
well, it ended up being where visitors to the house would see this figure. Now, I didn't see this figure, I heard footsteps. And I wasn't a visitor to the house, I was living there as a child. When I went back to visit my parents' house after I moved to California in 1989, I went back in 1992. And in 1992, visiting my parents, they're moving along in age, then I saw what other visitors had been describing. My parents didn't even flinch when I froze, jumped up off the love seat, I was facing them, so sofa's there, love seat's here. I thought it was a cat, actually, walking into the room. So it was like I saw it against that oatmeal colored carpet. So I thought it was like a little small cat, and I realized it was a foot, and then it was a leg, and I realized it was a whole figure, and it walked between my parents and myself. And I stood up and it went like through a doorway, like it was very cognizant of the physical layout of the house. And my parents just lay back and they go, tell us what you saw. I described it, and they said, that is what the visitors to this house described. So I was now the visitor and hadn't been there for several years. So really my journey into researching the paranormal began in 1992 after that.
Something was happening there, coalescing a vivid apparition, and I'd love to know again, electrochemically, magnetically, what's going on there, biochemically, on that kind of level. But sure, wow, that's a nice vivid sighting that you had there. Probably a resident of the house before, owner or disgruntled spirit on that site that just couldn't cross over.
It was, later when I tried to research these types of apparitions, they've been described as shadow people. And it had the wide brimmed hat. And I was like trying to rationalize it. And I said, is this some sort of government remote viewing exercise? And I am somehow able to visualize peering in psychically into my parents.
Well, the man in the black fedora is a phenomenon all over the world.
I know.
That people are seeing, like the black-eyed children and stuff like that. They're rare sightings, quite frightening. Yeah, but Hans Holzer's book is amazing. It's as thick as the Bible, and it's just got all the greatest cases in the world. All wonderful stuff, yeah. And of course, there's available, you can, on your search engine, there's the girl ghost on the Queen Mary, on the Queen Mary in Long Beach Harbor. I think her name's Rebecca or Rachel. She died in the swimming pool.
Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie.
That's right, yeah. There's many pictures of her. She's seen all the time there. And there are also other spirits in that boat. That's a fun night to spend. Hey, next year, let's all get staterooms on the Queen Mary and walk around. Yeah.
Everybody likes that idea.
Yeah, no, that's one of the haunted places on the planet, yeah.
And one of the aspects of the Queen Mary, as well as other locations, is people are able to record electronic voice phenomena.
All the time.
And the EVPs that people are able to record on the Queen Mary, for decades, the voice has the same cadence. So when you put it into a spectrum analyzer, it looks like what you're seeing, the visual representation, indicates that it's the same voice. And when you listen to it, there are similarities to this voice. I have wondered if it was a thought form as opposed to a spirit of a little girl. And it becomes reinforced. The more people look for Jackie, the more this thought form is being reinforced and manifesting in one way or another.
Interesting. Wow. That is that's neat to think that it's not just the residue of spiritual energy of people who've lived there and have even moved on and left some behind, but that their thoughts could generate an image or an apparition. Well, thoughts are important, man. What you put out there in life, you become. So positive energy, right? Keep it high. Keep it. Look at that horizon. Keep that light on it. Don't succumb to the dark thoughts.
My wife